Hello, this is Benjamin Fulford speaking on October 24th, 2025. I'm back in Japan now because things are coming to a head and I need to be here on the spot. There's a lot of high level negotiations going on in the background. As you know, Donald Trump will be coming to Japan next week, and then he'll be meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping also next week, next Thursday. And things are not going to be the same after all this. The Chinese have really started to play hardball, and they're holding a lot of cards. By cutting off rare earth metals starting November 1st, basically they're going to shut down most of the semiconductor industry and defense industry and a lot of and the automobile industry. As well as that, now they're cutting off the supply of semiconductors needed for automobile manufacturing. So basically, um, things are going to grind to a halt in the West. And for Trump to say, I'm going to raise tariffs on China, it's nonsense. It's like some guy who's been going to a bar and not paying his tab, and they say, well, if you don't pay your tab, you can't buy any more beer here. You're going to have to bring cash. And then he said, oh, well, I'm going to boycott your bar. No, you're being kicked out because you haven't been paying your bills. So any attempt to keep the current U.S. government and that whole uh, horror show of reality TV actors and Gaza genocide and all that kind of stuff, and then blowing up ships. This is not the kind of behavior that the rest of the world wants to see or continue. What is being demanded now is a complete regime change in North America. That includes Canada and the United States, and of course the West. So all the blackmailed pedophiles from Starmer in the UK, Macron in France, and the fake Trump in the US have to go. And the other thing we're demanding is a jubilee. That is a complete cancellation of all debts, public and private, and a redistribution of assets. Return the money that was stolen from the people through central bank fraud. This is the demands we'll be making, and the Asian societies support this, and they hold the cards. I just don't see what they expect to accomplish if they want to keep the current system going. Now, also, Japan's new Prime Minister, Sanae Takaichi, she's off to a good start. She's going to start deporting a lot of the criminal foreigners who were brought in as a part of a social destabilization project that's happening in all the G7 countries, Canada, United States, Europe. You're bringing in military age foreign males to cause trouble. It's just not it's not going to be tolerated anymore, and that's what I'm hearing. Now, I think the cabal voted against Takaichi, Prime Minister Takaichi, because she got into office and she has a 71% popular support, but the Nikkei stock market went down 666 points. So the Satanists voted against her. But, at the end of the day, they don't really control very much. So again, things will be coming to a head. And the other thing that's been on my radar is there was talk about Donald Trump meeting Russian President Vladimir Putin. And it's interesting that the Russian official TASS news agency says that the talks are still going to go ahead, while CNN and the Western media is reporting it's going to be canceled. And it's clear the Russians are aware there was a fake Trump and a real Trump, and that they're still going to go ahead and have talks with the real Trump. However, I've been told by U.S. military intelligence sources that there was a plan to somehow arrest Vladimir Putin when he went to Hungary, even though the Hungarian government promised he won't be. So that's an unresolved issue. Again, we're dealing with very desperate, cornered rats, and they're going to pull out all the stops. But clearly, things are not going to be business as usual. I'll send you, or you'll see this video here of people demanding the arrest of Bill Gates. Okay, the man is a mass murderer, and he should be arrested, or whoever is, playing the role of Bill Gates. The point of being that we should not have some Bill Gates type character controlling that huge uh, medical poison industry, which is what the case is now. I mean, remember that he was the guy who financed the WHO and their attempt to turn this planet into a giant slave farm with their digital ID and with their, and have governments hand over all power to him. And this is not going to happen. So that's all coming apart as well. And I've been in touch also with British intelligence, and they're with us. They're on the program for the replacement of the BIS, the World Bank, the IMF, with new, healthier institutions that actually work for the people, that try to plan a better future, try to make this a better planet. Again, the other point is U.S. military salaries may or may not bounce today. So that's something we're going to keep an eye on. But my message to the U.S. military and the White Hats is that if you want to get your paychecks, you're going to have to get off your asses and seize all the corporations that are controlled by State Street and Banking, Vanguard, and BlackRock. Take control of the transnational corporations away from the inbred Swiss group that controls it, the pharaonic bloodlines who have been trying to turn this entire planet into a giant prison. This is not going to be allowed to continue. So again, things are going to be coming to a head between now and November 1st. I'll probably provide more updates if I get information, but right now we're all waiting for the big meetings next week. And if it's the fake Trump who shows up in Japan and to meet Xi Jinping, he'll return empty-handed. If it's the real Trump, he's going to have to agree to a jubilee and a complete revamp of the system. We don't want to continue the U.S. corporate government as it is. We don't want to have reality TV actors pretending to be our leaders while the true powers stay in the shadows. This is not going to be allowed anymore. And the other thing is, we're not going to let them start any more wars so they can harvest children for adrenochrome, enslave women, and for the organ trade, all that kind of stuff. They're quite desperate now because these people do require human sacrifice to get the energy they need to keep their systems going. And with the war in the Ukraine basically over and the slaughter in Gaza being strongly curtailed, they're trying very hard now to start a new sort of war in Venezuela. But again, that's not going to work. This planet has a satanic infestation. There can be no doubt about it. And a lot of the Western leaders are basically blackmailed by these Satanists. They have to be removed. So, again, it's going to be a crucial time. I have some meetings scheduled with Japanese right-wingers and Asian secret society types, and I'll know a lot more after these meetings. But there is a general consensus that enough is enough, and we have to bring things to a head finally. So again, nothing's happening yet, but it's all about to happen, and it's going to be big. Okay, well, that's what I have to say for myself today. Now I'd like to answer questions from readers and viewers.
Ivan, we have our first question for today. It seems to skirt FEC rules as if APEC can back-channel and fund politicians using something called Democracy Engine LLC. Do you know what this is, and have you considered this funding source when reporting on the USA bankruptcy?
They have something like 70,000 different non-government organizations that they use to do all sorts of social manipulation. I'm sure that's one of them, although I don't know the details of that one. The other thing they do to launder their funny money and to control society is they control religious cults, the Mormons, all sorts of different cults, that the Christian Zionists, and here in Japan they have several different cults that they have been using. What they do is basically they use the religion, tax-free religion, as a vehicle to give money to people who they think they can manipulate society on their behalf. All of that needs to be shut down, uh, including the one you just mentioned, although, again, I don't know the details. Okay, next question.
Hi, Ben. What if the Kirk event was staged and he's not dead? Old Demogard has found it resembles too many other staged events. I agree there are too many Trumps. I don't understand why, if the fakes exist in real time, why surrounding staff and or the real Trump doesn't announce the issue the same way the Trump denounced the 2020 election steal. What are your thoughts on this?
I mean, as far as the Charlie Kirk thing is going, I have been told by some sources that he's alive in a military base, and it's hard to tell. Maybe there's wheels within wheels, and the White Hat staged a fake assassination to, ruin Israel's reputation, or maybe Israel tried to kill him, but it blew up in their faces. We just don't know. But what the point is, we don't want to have this sort of reality TV like events, street theater stage to try to manipulate us. That's not how we're supposed to run a government. The government's supposed to listen to what the people want and then try to figure out how to make that happen. It shouldn't be, staging an event to make everyone go off to war or something, which is what's going on now. That whole system needs to be shut down. Next question.
Hi, Ben. Is the real Trump against the AI robotics takeover of humanity, against the digital ID? We are in a human extinction event if this isn't stopped. The AI job apocalypse is starting to accelerate the U.S. economy. The UK government is trying to force digital ID on its citizens.
The problem with all this digital ID stuff is that there is something out there known as physical reality, and it is above and beyond the AI or digital ID. It's sort of, the story of King Midas is a good example of how this, or analogy of how this works. King Midas was granted one wish, and what he wished for was that everything he touched turned to gold. And what happened was he starved to death because the food turned to gold and he couldn't eat it. Digital ID, all that digital stuff, it's not real. You can't eat it. It's just numbers. And as long as the underlying reality, physical food, physical metal, all that kind of stuff exists, no matter what they try, it's not going to work. Basically, what's happened is the West has lost the material war. They don't produce. Their industry is hollowed out. They have to borrow from the rest of the world to get their foodstuffs or their material, and they can't pay for it. And they're trying to use digital as a way to, pretend they're not going to pay their debts. I've been told there's a plan to take all U.S. debt, put it in the cloud, and then disappear it. But that's not going to work. The Asians are saying, hand over physical gold and silver, and they don't have it. They've jacked up the price of gold desperately to try to get people to sell their jewelry so they can have enough gold to pay off the Chinese. It's not working, and it's but yeah, the fact that the current Western oligarchs are spending all future investments on building these giant data centers means that they are the enemies of the people, and they are trying to create a digital prison, but it's going to fail. AI isn't working. It can't fact check. It can't confirm the real world. Real companies in the real world can't use it. The thing's a giant hallucination, and it's going to fail. But they're desperately trying to do that. But again, I tell you, it's not going to work. And as far as the real Trump and the fake Trump are concerned, what I've been told is there's a very serious battle raging, and neither side is strong enough to put down the other side as of yet. But I think that will change once the Chinese really do cut off industry, and they will force the military to get rid of all these satanic oligarchs, or else they won't get their paychecks. If they do, arrest these people, then yeah, the U.S. military will be working to help save the planet, which is the job they're supposed to be doing in the first place. Next question.
Hi, Ben. Another question in addition to digital ID. In your opinion, is digital ID what the Bible refers to as, quote, the mark of the beast in Revelations, where individuals without the mark will be hunted and unable to buy or sell goods?
It is very clear that there is a very powerful group centered around Israel and then Switzerland who did want to implement a mark of the beast type control. And I know this is very linked closely to Barack Obama and that whole Hitler branch of the Khazarian mafia. Uh, so yeah, I think there is a group which they used to be known as the Sabbatean Frankist Jews. Now we call them the Khazarian mafia, who did want to implement mark of the beast control. And Jared Kushner, Trump's son-in-law, is definitely part of that because he bought, that property on Fifth Avenue, 666 Fifth Avenue, if I'm not mistaken, where they had Lucent Technologies, which is Lucifer Technologies, uh, brain chip research. So yeah, it's these are the people who are behind it, but it's going to fail. They're not going to succeed because people are aware of it and they're revolting. Next question.
Ivan, we have our last question for today. With respect to the rigged election in Japan, the corruption is obvious, and there is a rumor that the Komeito party is the main actor in the election manipulation. Please inform us about what you know about who the main actors of the election manipulation are in Japan.
Well, up until now, the Komeito were the people who did a lot of the actually dirty work. They had their believers come in and fill countless paper ballots, fake ballots, and they were send them out, putting up election posters and all that kind of stuff. But the Komeito withdrew its support from Sanai Takaichi, and they're not as powerful as they used to be. I'm still, I'm waiting to see what happens with this new regime. Again, I just got back like yesterday to Japan, so I haven't met any people to try to get more information. But uh, I know that Japan is something has clicked, and it's not going to be business as usual. And this Soka Gakkai cult is not going to be subcontracting control of Japan for the Satanists anymore. That's for sure. But the elections have been fake since the end of World War II. Basically, what happened was when the United States landed in Japan after the war, they called in the Prime Minister Tojo of the wartime government and said, "Look, you can stay on as Prime Minister, but you'll be taking orders from us." And he said, "No, I can't do that. That's treason." And so he was executed as a war criminal. And they kept doing that until they found Abe's grandfather, who said, "Yes, okay." And ever since then, the prime ministers in Japan have just been reading scripts handed to them by the Americans. But the people who are in charge of this are dead now, and everything's in flux. Uh, so I think something fundamental has clicked in Japan, but I'll know more over the coming days as I have meetings. Okay, well, that's what I have to say for myself today, and I hope to see you again next week. And there should be a lot more to talk about then because Trump will be here, and we'll know more about if it was the real Trump or the fake Trump, and if the U.S. is going to have a hard landing or if they're going to announce a jubilee and a reboot. I've got some very important intelligence sent to me by a very high-level source of mine. This is someone who personally knows Vladimir Putin, Xi Jinping, and the original Donald Trump. Now, here's the message that they want to convey to the world. The original Trump, Putin, and Xi Jinping, all three originals, work together behind the scenes towards peace and harmony. They all use doubles and avatars for security. Unfortunately, the deep state are using their own body doubles and avatars. The battle for control of the world is in the final stage now. This is the global alliance for the benefit of humanity versus the satanic dark side that wants to kill off as many living beings as possible, not just humans. You know the deep state fake Trump by his continual support of Israel, as well as his continued vacillating on almost every issue. You will know which Trump goes to Japan when you see him and his actions. Melania will join the real Trump. A fake Melania may join the fake Trump. It will be fairly easy to differentiate between them. The three original leaders are scheduled to meet privately before December 15th and at an undisclosed location. There will not be any public disclosure. Totally off the record. That's it. Okay, I just thought it was important to get that out there. And I couldn't read the message